Hello everyone, bringing you a video today looking at something which arrived recently. In fact, there will be a couple of videos, or 3 or 4 videos maybe, looking at various bits which arrived and were sort of shown in an overview video at the start of this year. Various bits and pieces I picked up off my friend Alan, which had been waiting for quite a while due to COVID and everything else, for me for him to be able to bring them to me or for me to pick them up, whichever way around. And what we're going to look at in this video is a pair of seal pattern cold wet weather boots. Now these are the boots introduced initially for use in Korea, and they were used going forward through the 1950s and even into the 60s, and you see them occasionally turn up in the 1970s as well. And what we're going to have a look at, as I say, is a sealed pattern pair of these, the second version of these boots, the 1953 pattern. Without further ado, we'll get into the main part of the video now and have a look at these in some detail. So the main reason for looking at these is, of course, to have a look at the sealed pattern labels that come with these, but just sort of to remind what the cold wet weather boot is. You can see here the construction, the details of the seams, details of the sole there. Very large toe box, which allows the use of thick and multiple layers of socks to insulate the feet. Obviously also one with an insole as well, a mesh insole, which will become familiar to British soldiers going forward. You can see here the itch side commando sole there, clearly labelled, screwed in place as is typical. Pattern of the sole there. You have padding around the ankle here, big pull loop at the back to allow you to pull these on or assist you in pulling them on. So you can see the details of the construction and so forth there. As I say, quite a distinctive look to these, particularly with the very large heavy toe, and the fact that this is so large is obviously to make room for the multiple pairs of socks these were intended to be worn with for use in cold wet weather. So this is the left hand boot, and we'll have a look at the labels here. Now these are quite folded, so rather than putting stills in the video, I think I'm actually just going to hold these up to the camera. It's probably the easiest way of doing it and let you view them there. So we have the various details here. Boot cold wet number 1 1953 pattern over on the left there, and you have the signature approved by at the bottom there, and the date the 22nd of the 9th 1954. And you do have details up here which are a little difficult to make out of the catalogue number and the specification number and so forth. Obviously the seal there on the back on a piece of wool serge cloth, drab wool cloth there, and then you can see the various people this has been issued to and the dates of that. And on both of these boots there is a second label which is dated 1968, so it's sealed again, and you can see that here, actually including a NATO stock number now, or catalogue number. In the catalogue number field we have a NATO stock number there. So you have still the same designation, boots, ankle black, cold wet number 1 1953 pattern, and resealed in 1968. No details of these being issued out on the back there. Oh, just one stamp, actually 24th of September 1970. You can see that there. Hopefully that all showed up clearly in the video there. So that's the left hand of the two boots. Bring the right hand boot into shot here. You can have a look at the labels on this. Obviously construction and everything is the same, just a mirror image. And we have again, if we bring this up to the camera here, try and straighten this out as much as possible. Boots cold wet number 1 1953 pattern again. This time the date at the bottom there is 7th of January 1954. The details are otherwise very similar. Just looking here, difficult to work out what that says, but I'll leave you to read that yourself. Looking through the camera it's a little tricky. So the details of that side of the label there. We have some details on the back as well as to who these were or when they were issued out. So we've got 1958 there, there's a date, and 1964, again a little difficult to make out, but you can see the details on the label there hopefully. And then again we have the standard pattern label from 1968 on here. The same nomenclature used, again with the NATO stock number. And looking on the back here, we don't actually have any marks this time at all. We don't have any date stamps or anything on the back of that one. So that's just a quick look at a sealed pattern pair of boots cold wet weather. As I say, these are the second issue of these. There was a preceding pattern used in Korea as well, but as I say, all part of the combat uniform developed for use in Korea, the cold wet weather combat uniform It's not all patterned the same, it's not all under exactly the same designation, but that's where a lot of this kit originates from, the British Army's first issue of combat uniform, and items like these cold wet weather boots, which did see service for quite some time after career as well. They actually turn up in Suez with some of the airborne forces in Suez as well. Interestingly, they did become somewhat synonymous with the parachute regiment. So there we are. So I hope that's been of interest. Hopefully it's been of interest having a look at these. As I say, not looking at the boot itself particularly. I have covered these previously on the channel, certainly talked about them previously on the channel, but having a look at the sealed pattern label and the details of that. The sealed pattern examples are generally quite interesting in that they give something of a history of the item in terms of its design and so forth, and just interesting from the point of view of when these were issued out again for further manufacture, obviously to be used as a standard pattern. So hopefully, as I say, you found it interesting looking at this. If you have and you'd like to see more from the channel, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, little notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you would like to support the channel, you can. Both Patreon and PayPal are linked down below. And as I always say, a massive thank you to everybody who supports the channel using those two methods. It's greatly appreciated, as I always say. Thank you all very much indeed. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter are all linked down below. And if you'd like to get in touch but you don't really use social media, there is of course an email address down below as well. That's everything for this video, so until next time, bye for now.